Welcome to Main Event Monday. I'm Matt. This is my brother Scott.
What's going on, guys?
This is Huge Pop Wrestling. Yeah, so we decided to throw our second one out there. Our second episode, our second show of the week. And we're doing Main Event Mondays. We're going to be reviewing WrestleManias, starting with number 1 and working our way back to current day. So
perfect, yeah. So
it's going to be a lot of fun. I love old school wrestling. I think my brother does too.
Same, man. Old school wrestling is. I hate to say this, but I think the new school wrestling needs to take some lessons from the old school wrestling because Matt, mute your
Yeah, my bad.
So WrestleMania 1, March 31st, 1985, Madison Square Garden. What an iconic place to have the first WrestleMania. Madison Square Garden. I mean that
MSG.
Yeah, MSG,
it's the mecca of pro wrestling. It really is. It's everyone that talks about pro wrestling, they want to end up at a main event Madison Square Garden.
Absolutely.
Or it's just as big as the Tokyo Dome today.
Yes.
25,000
in attendance, 1.2 million watching everywhere.
On closed circuit television.
It's closed circuit television. So
before they had pay-per-view.
Yes.
It was when they had that satellite that scrambled.
Yes, the big old dish, like about 17 feet wide by 17 feet tall. Yeah,
it's size of a little pool.
I didn't have one. I was not rich enough to have one. My rich friends, my rich friends were able to watch it, so I was able to hear about it the following day at school. So. We started the night with Tito Santana versus the Executioner. That was the first match. Matt, what's your thoughts on that match, man?
Now, let's start off. Before the match even started, we had the Executioner cutting the most horrendous, cringeworthy promo of all time. The promos weren't the basis of what we were watching. We were watching the actual we were watching the wrestling. We weren't watching promos. And that's what AEW, again, what a good thing about AEW is that they don't cut promos upon promos upon promos. And they jump right into the wrestling, right into the action. Just like ROH. Now, that being said, Tito Santana and the Executioner, even before the match, you kind of knew that Tito Santana was going to win.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
It's predictable.
It's predictable, but the match itself was the typical up, down, and then all of a sudden the good guy wins at the end.
Right.
Now, Tito Santana showed why he was... It showed that he was a tremendous athlete for that time.
Yes.
That match was he could wrestle a mop and make the mop look like a 4-star caliber match.
Yes. Now the one thing I do like you said, you hit on the promos. One thing that back in the day WWF you'd see small stuff, but they were more interested in giving us the matches,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's bad for WWE right now because they do a lot more backstage and promo in-ring talking and less wrestling, but that's how days change, and how as we evolve in the wrestling business, promos are more popular now than they were back then, and so that's why we didn't see very good or very many promos at WrestleMania 1. But when we did the good, you could tell the good from the bad. Obviously, the good talkers from the bad talkers, and but the Executioner, he didn't talk very well. And my take on Tito Santana, man, I loved him as a kid, and as I'm watching that, I remember why I liked him as a kid. The guy is a great. That's right. He's a great in-ring performer. And I think what made it really good is the camera angle that they were able to show as they were doing this WrestleMania to hide the missteps if there were any. But I think Tito Santana put over execution. Of course, Tito Santana wins that match.
Yeah.
So, so then we jump. Go ahead.
No, like the guys like Tito Santana, and we'll talk a little bit later about like a Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Those guys they were ahead of their time as far as what they were doing. Hey, Wrecked, what's going on? I see you on YouTube. Welcome, boys. I mean, you had athletes like Tito Santana, like Superfly, like the Dragon, Ricky Steamboat. Later on, you'll see him in WrestleMania 3 when we get to that week. Those guys were ahead of their time, and they made the stuff look effortless.
Right.
And kind of paved the way for guys like Seth Rollins and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, we obviously knew that an unknown guy like the Executioner wasn't going to win.
Right. And what I did like about Tito Santana, and I liked a lot of the spots that were high spots because we're huge pop wrestling. A lot of the huge pops and huge spots were, like, for instance, Tito Santana was in there and he gave those knife chops, and knife chops after knife chops. And then he paid homage to his boy, Jimmy Snuka. How he finished the match, climbed to the top rope, and he posed up there like Jimmy, and he, did his splash, and they paid respect to one another throughout the whole night, and I appreciate that. So.
Now, well, the next one was
David Sammartino with Bruno Sammartino in his corner versus Brutus the Barber Beefcake that I know versus with Luscious Johnny Valiant.
Johnny Valiant.
Yes.
Great manager from the 70s and 80s. Great.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, that's when the managers. That's the one thing that the one thing that I loved about the 80s wrestling is that you had larger than life everywhere.
Yeah.
You had the characters not only in the ring, you had the characters on the mic on the outside. Like we forgot to talk about Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body.
Yes.
Great guys. I mean, probably like people talk about JR and the King. I mean, I grew up with Jesse the Body and Vince, or Jesse the Body and Gorilla.
Yeah.
And you had the characters when you tuned into WWF television. You had the characters from top to bottom. It wasn't just. And Lord Alfred Hayes, another one. Mean Gene was part of the show.
You mean Gene Mean?
Yeah, Mean Gene, or Gene Mean, as the Iron Sheik called him in that promo. No, I think we as a wrestling fan from that era, we got spoiled with characters. And it's the wrestling was geared again. It was more PG.
Yeah.
I mean, it was more PG. It was Hulk Hogan telling you to take your vitamins, say your prayers, and train and all that. But that's what the audience wanted.
Right. I mean, we're going to talk about Lord Alfred Hayes, guys. I'm going to get this off my chest because that guy, as I'm watching, that guy, you ever have that moment you're watching something and you're just like, oh, God, I wish I didn't see that. That outfit he was wearing was ridiculous.
Well,
and
it was 84.
I get it. And he acted like he was like, I know I get it, it's 84, the technology's not like it is now, and they don't have monitors to read the stuff. But you obviously could tell the guy didn't know his lines or whatever or was stumbling over it. I don't know what he was doing, but I was like, oh my God. I cringed every time he came on the screen. But I agree with you, Matt, that, we had Jesse the Body and Gorilla Monsoon. Two of the best, in my opinion, in the business of broadcasting and announcing. And I'm thankful, yet he turned back to Mean Gene, or Gene Mean, as they called him at the end, in the back. He, of course, is an all-time great guy, man. That guy is just forever will be known for as a good announcer or a good interviewer. So, but yeah, it's just different, man. I'm not taking nothing away from the guys that are doing it now. The Pat McAfee's and the guys on SmackDown and Raw. They're amazing too. But these guys, I was watching this show last night. I'm like, wow, they're incredible. At that age, at that era, they're still good.
Yeah.
So.
So I didn't watch much before like WrestleMania 1 as far as WrestleMania 1 I was 3 years old. 1984. So I'm sitting here watching this stuff again for like the 100th time because I love like all the old school wrestling, like I said before. But I'd like to. At some point, I'm gonna have to go back and look at Jesse Ventura, what he did in ring, because apparently he was a hell of a talent too.
He was, absolutely.
Gorilla Monsoon, obviously very, very much decorated. But anyway, so the next match was the Luscious Johnny Valiant. We went on our little side thing about how they're in this era. You had guys like in the WWE or WWF. You had Luscious Johnny Valiant. You had Bobby the Brain Heenan. You got Jimmy Hart. You had there's another one that was on the show later on, and I'm drawing a blank on his name now. But yeah,
Lou Albano, Captain Lou Albano.
Captain Lou Albano. And so you had like I said, you had characters that would second the main characters.
Yeah.
Of course, David San Martino's Bruno's kid.
Yep.
Against Bruce Beefcake. That match is what it was. Again, it was two bigger guys, and they put on a show. Great
in-ring show. On Saturday, it ended up in a no contest.
Yeah.
But
did we skip over 9 seconds?
No. Well, I have that later on down my list, but no.
Well, in order, I think. Well, never mind. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Then.
We'll just put him next.
Okay. So we have the quickie in King Kong Bundy.
Well, Jimmy Hart defeated Special Delivery Jones.
SD Jones.
Yes.
Really?
They broadcast that as a 9-second win. I looked it up on YouTube.
It's a world record.
World record.
Fastest time of victory for a WrestleMania.
Right, and I looked it up, and I watched it from start to finish, and I'm sorry. Exaggeration if you must. 9 seconds really was 23 seconds. I'm just saying. But give them what they want to do with it. They want to make it a big deal. They want to say, King Kong Bundy beat Special Delivery Jones, and of course he should have. Special Delivery Jones is about a quarter his size. King Kong Bundy. It was a squash match. You expect it. It was one of those things. Again, you expect it. You see the size of King Kong Bundy, you expect King Kong Bundy to win. And he did. And it was in 9 seconds, supposedly.
Allegedly.
So, I think...
If anyone's out there watching, throw something in the comments. I'm not seeing anybody if anyone's watching. Don't be afraid to jump in here and say, hey, you guys are jackasses or whatever.
So then we had Ricky the Dragon Steamboat defeating Matt Bourne. Another one of my childhood favorites. I loved Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He's just a phenomenal wrestler in the ring, and
Well, he's arguably in one, and he's in arguably the best WrestleMania match of all time. And again, we'll talk about that in a couple episodes when we get to that match in Pontiac for WrestleMania 3.
Right.
But no, you could tell like some of these guys are just insane in the ring athletes for that era. You see where some of these guys now are getting the inspiration for what they do in the ring.
Right.
Without Ricky, without Superfly, without Tito Santana, you wouldn't have some of these guys trying to do the stuff that they do in ring now.
Right.
And people might think I'm dumb because things morphed. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, well, Superfly is the only reason we have high flyers. No, those guys started it, and the next generation was able to elevate it to the next level. It's just like any professional sports. You're gonna have, like, you had Dr. J, basketball, for example. Dr. J, 60s and 70s, flying above the rim, right? Then Michael Jordan comes along in the 80s and takes it to another level. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, you have Vince Carter just absolutely blowing the roof off the place with Kobe Bryant. Things just keep getting. Every era seems to take what the previous couple and elevate it.
Yep.
And it's good to go back to WrestleMania 1 and see where we were and kind of appreciate it as we go.
Right. I was thinking as you're talking there, that must have been a hell of a Intercontinental Championship group, because any of those guys we just talked about, you got Steamboat, you got Snuka, you got Junkyard Dog, you got Hammer Valentine, you got all those guys that paved the way, in my opinion, for this day's age of Intercontinental Champions.
So you throw Macho Man in there.
I wish. Now, we don't have an Intercontinental Champion nowadays, do we?
Yeah, Walter.
Walter, yes. Okay, whatever.
Walter, not Gunther. Walter.
But what I'm saying is that it was jam packed with that weight class, and it was realistic, and those guys did get a shot at the at Hogan's title and stuff. But I'm just saying, looking at that card, the WrestleMania card, all those guys, man, they could have easily been that Intercontinental Champion. But they just paved the way for the future, and the future's like Seth Rollins, I guess you could say Theory, or all those boys out there, So I believe, wrestling started and was paid, 1985. This WrestleMania, as I'm watching, I'm like, okay, I get it. All this in-ring stuff is phenomenal.
Well, yeah, and the next match was what?
Under the Giant versus Big John Studd. Awesome match.
It's the last. I think it's the last time you see Andre as a face, I believe.
Yeah.
Then because he goes and because it's the last time you see him as a face at a WrestleMania. Because I think at WrestleMania 2, I don't remember who he had, but we'll be watching that here in the next couple of days to get ready for next week. But yeah, it's Andre and Big John Studd, two of the most gigantic and crazy personalities in the WWE at that point.
Right.
And the slam match for what, $1,000?
$1,500.
$1,500.
And if Andre lost, he has to retire.
Yeah. So obviously, Andre wasn't going to lose that one.
Right. obviously.
I mean, come on. I mean, even growing up, I mean, I would hope people watching it back in 1984 wouldn't have been all like, oh gosh, I hope Andre doesn't lose. Oh, do you think he's gonna lose? You think Big John Studd's gonna beat him?
Yeah.
I mean, that might be me being salty or whatever, but I mean, come on.
Right.
I love this era, but there's some of the stuff that's like, really?
How about that bag that the money was in, bro? That was like
old gym bag.
Yeah, old classic gym bag. I'm like,
and it had WWF on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that in like a pro wrestling crate or something like that. I don't know.
Hey man.
Pro wrestling tees. I shout you out, bros.
Look us up, man.
Andre the Giant, obviously, like Matt said, was gonna win. You know, if you didn't think he was gonna win, you had something that was wrong with you. But yeah, I mean, it took a minute. You know, they're big boys. I think they were saying Andre the Giant's shoes size 26 or something like that. Yeah. And Studs is like, you know, whatever. But those are some big boys, you know. And of course, we had Bobby the Brain Heenan out there with John Studd, and Bobby's a classic. He, you know, back in the day, he was a classic. He was just one of the greatest.
He's arguably one of the best heel managers.
Yes.
All like, I would put him right there with like, well, with Paul Heyman.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that he's as good as Paul Heyman. You loved watching him. He's a smart aleck, so he's good at it. Same with the Iron Sheik's manager. Back in the, what's his name?
Oh, Freddie Blassie.
Freddie Blassie.
Freddie Blassie.
And like,
gotta be you pencil neck geek.
Yes, and you know, like Matt said, you know, that's back there. It was the managers and the talent were just on the same level. You know what I'm saying? There was high levels of all. Even the announcers were high levels. You know, and so yeah, you had Heenan in that match, and of course he ripped the bag out of Andre the Giant's hand and left. You know, and
well, I love the fact that Andre started throwing the money. He was like, "I'm gonna make it rain."
Yeah, that's when it started. You know, we all thought Snoop Dogg or all those boys in the hood came up making it rain, but no, Andre was making it rain back in '85. Man, he was like, "Let's go! I don't need this money, man."
Like, I'm Andre Giant, bitch.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, Andre the Giant wins that match. He body slammed him, and that was over that. So then we had the Intercontinental Championship match with Junkyard Dog and Greg the Hammer Valentine with Jimmy Hart. I gotta say, man, Jimmy Hart was looking good back in the day, looking young, man.
Well, that brother don't age, man. Like,
yeah, I follow Hulk Hogan's Beach Store on Facebook, and Jimmy Hart looks the same like he did back in '85, like he is now, man. That guy doesn't age at all.
A few more wrinkles nowadays, but that's
but no, that guy's amazing with that megaphone, and you know he's just like a Jim Cornette around the ring, always busy. Did I say that? Oops. Was I not supposed to say Jim Cornette's name on this?
I mean,
it is what it is.
Well, we're gonna say. I will say this. He's turned into a crotchety old man, and he's an absolute scumbag. Now, fight me, Jim. I don't give a damn. You're a piece of shit of a human being.
Right.
But his character back in WCW and AWA, one of the greatest heel managers of all time.
If we're gonna talk about heel managers, he's got to be in that discussion.
I mean, we hate him now, but his stuff he did in the AWA and NWA and WCW and all those, and Smoky Mountain is one of, it puts him in the Mount Rushmore of heel managers.
He paved the way, in my opinion, for some of the managers nowadays.
Goddamn racket.
Yeah.
Stupid tennis racket.
Same thing, that stupid megaphone, man. But
and then you talk about props. Paul Heyman, he had that. It was Paulie Dangerously from Yuppie. Had that big old cell phone, that brick cell phone from 1980. But I mean, yeah, the JYD and Greg the Hammer Valentine match was, in my opinion, better than the main event. It was everything. It ended it, except for the ending. It was one of those endings Vince wanted to keep. Vince and WWF wanted to keep the title on Valentine. How do you do that? You have a runaround finish. You have a count out or finish, and it just sucks because a guy like JYD who shows up, he was the original workhorse. He was the original. Like I'd say he's one of the guys like a John Moxley type person who was there each week on your TV doing the work and not being scared to do the work and not being scared of getting in a fight.
Right.
And it's just too bad. He's in my top 5 guys of guys who never won a title in the WWF. He was tremendous.
Yeah, he's a game player. He's he does what he has to do. He's a businessman. He's a company guy. Even when he lost the match, it was like, okay, he didn't need to win the championship. It's almost like if you watch his body language in the ring after the double, because they counted it out or something like that, and then they restarted the match because I hammered Valentine's legs around the rope, I believe, and then it started over again, and there was DQ, et cetera, et cetera. But JYD is like, you know what? Like Matt said, he's a businessman. He does whatever he has to do to make the show look good. And I didn't realize he never won a championship. I was trying to figure that out. But you're right, he never did. And he would show up every week, and he's a worker. And I think that's why I liked him. We have that big old chain around his neck and a dog collar, blah, blah, blah. Great character, great guy. That's one guy I wish I would have had a chance to meet.
Now, you talk about, we have a lot of technical wrestlers, and people talk about Bret Hart, the excellence of that execution, Dean Malenko, and then WCW as a technical wrestler. And no one really gives a lot of credit to the Hammer. The Hammer is a tremendous guy as far as a technical wrestler. He's not going to wow you with his aerial moves. He's going to beat you up and make you tap out. I mean, that was his style, and that was the way that is why he retained that Intercontinental Championship. And you talk about, before we move on, did you notice that belt was green? The strap was green. It's totally different from what we have now.
Right. I noticed that was one thing I wrote down. The belts were different color, and they were way smaller than what we got now. I'm going to be curious to watch as we go through these WrestleManias. When did the belts become bigger and better? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because WrestleMania 2, that's one where it's gonna. That's the WrestleMania 2 will be one that I pop off a lot on as far as getting pissed off about stuff. But anyway.
But before we go on, man, I gotta say, that match with Jimmy, with the Junkyard Dog and the Hammer Valentine, that was one of the matches where they were telling a story, and and with the endings, the way it happened was just you have to know that leading into WrestleMania 2 season, there's that storyline. If we watch Saturday Night Main Event or whatever, however we watched wrestling back in '85, the way they ended that was just setting up for bigger and better stories between Junkyard Dog and Valentine, etc., etc. So they did very good on doing that. Same with the Andre the Giant and Big John Studd match. Obviously give it to Andre the Giant. But Big John Studd now, there's an avenue to go down for many more months to the next pay-per-view. So I like the storytelling that they did back in the day.
Long-term storytelling.
Yes.
And I've talked about that so many times on our Friday show. it's a long-term storyline. Tell a story in the ring instead of having these 4 or 5 minute matches that don't mean anything. I mean, I like the storytelling. I like to know what's going on. Like, yeah, beat the hell out of each other. That's great, but don't. I don't know. It's just frustrating.
Yeah.
I think that's why I say we're spoiled to have grown up in the '80s and watched this stuff when it was the long term storyline. It wasn't all about cutting a promo. These guys were able to tell a story in the ring, and not rely on having to tell a story on the mic.
Absolutely. Man, did you notice the space between the ring and the barrier was so small?
Yeah.
Compared to today's. I mean, I was just looking at what I was comparing it, and I just noticed that. I was like, oh my God. It is so crazy. So. The next one was the World Tag Team Champions Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik with Classy Freddie Blassie and Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham to become new world champions. So,
that's interesting because you had Mike Rotunda, who is Bray Wyatt's dad, and he'll later on become IRS and BK Wall Street and all those other things that he's done. To see him that young and of course Barry Windham is I think his brother-in-law. That match. It was a very back and forth match, and it was very entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you had regular. It was regular dudes. It was regular dudes versus characters for that match.
Right.
It was two guys that you wanted to see beat the living hell out of two foreigners because USA. You know what I mean? Like, that was part of that movement. You couldn't do that kind of gimmick nowadays.
Right.
It doesn't get over.
Right. No, I like that. You had to know. Even if you didn't watch wrestling back in '85, you just turned on wrestling and watched WrestleMania 1 from the beginning. You could tell. Again, you got Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov with Blassie in their corner. And it's for the championship. You could even. I bet you if you just sat there thinking about how this match originated. Again, like you said, Matt, it was the USA versus the foreigners. And you had to know that Vince is going to put the belts on the foreigners because that creates heat. And you knew that Freddie Blassie was going to interfere, and of course he had that cane with him. You knew how that was. I was just watching. I was like, when is it going to happen? And they got the shot to the back of the head with the cane, and and of course at the end they're interviewing with Gene Mean, and he asked him about it, and he goes, "What cane? I didn't bring a cane." But you had to know that those guys are going to win the belts, and of course it's best for business to see that happen.
Well, what about? I mean, let's rewind to the beginning of that match, and you gotta love Nikolai coming out and singing the Soviet national anthem.
Yes.
I mean, that's classic. I mean,
yep.
And that's been done like that. That was his gimmick, and that worked.
Whatever it is. Bonjour, what's my phone? Or I don't know how it does. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, again, it was we had World Wrestling Federation, and they were already at that point WWE.
Right.
They were entertainment, but it wasn't over the top.
Right.
It was still wrestling. It was still two guys in the middle of a square circle beating the shit out of each other.
Right. And I loved it. Yeah, it was a good match. I mean, the boots. I just loved just reminiscing the boots of Iron Sheik. With the curly toe and all that stuff, and the camel clutch, and those guys. They're good. They're good in the ring. And I mean, I miss the days. They're big boys, but they could move in the ring, and they told a story with this. They took the titles off the champions, and then they go to the back to Gene Mean, and that's. I had to
tell you something, Gene Mean.
I had to rewind that 3 times to make sure that's what he said, because I was like, no, that's not what he said. So Gene Mean, rest in peace, my bro. But Gene Mean, man, and great promo in the back, and you just could tell that you would say what's next, and get interested. So that was that match. The next one, next two actually, in my opinion, were like the centerpiece of the whole WrestleMania. It was the MTV movement, the TV movement, the bonding.
What was it? It was the Rock. Can't remember what they called it.
Yeah, but the Rock and Roll. I don't know whatever it was, Rock and Roll Connection. I don't know, but they brought it all together, with Wendy Richter, with Cyndi Lauper, and Lonnie Kai with the Fabulous Moolah. Which, by the way, I feel that Fabulous Moolah spent way too much time on WWE television here in the last few years. Those are segments I turn the TV off, or I go to the bathroom because I can't stand them 2 old hags on the TV set. But
now they're both dead.
Good. I mean, not good, but I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Well, no, you talk about Moolah. I watched it, and I love the history of WWF. I love history of wrestling, period. And I look back at, like, I watched stuff like The Dark Side of the Ring, and I don't know if anyone out there watches those or not. But there's one about Fabulous Moolah, and she was not a nice woman at all.
Really?
Like, if you have a chance, watch that. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. But go and watch that. She was very, she knew what she was good at it. She was good at what she did, but she was very territorial, and she didn't want to get upstage. And like I said, Dark Side of the Ring, it's on Hulu. You guys get a chance, watch it. All those, the whole series is really good. I think there's like 3 seasons. They're working on number 4 right now. But yeah, go check that out. But yeah, like we said, Wendy Richter and Liana Kai with Moolah in her corner, and Richter had Cyndi Lauper and Captain Lou.
Yep.
Great. It was a fun match. It was actually better than a main event as far as the quality of a match.
Right.
And we're gonna have some fun on that last match, but we saw a very back and forth. We saw the right person, the hero winning, the face winning at the end, and I think Wendy Richter showed why she was doing stuff that the girls are afraid to try now, in my opinion.
Yep. 100%. Yep. No, that was a great match, and of course, girls just want to have fun. Cyndi Lauper, if you watch that whole storyline building up to WrestleMania, you've seen a video come out with Captain Lou in it with Cyndi Lauper and everything else tied together, and the right person won. The face won. You had to have a face winning that belt, and you had to have a title change. Wendy Richter was doing stuff in the ring that maybe you wish you'd see nowadays, but you just don't. Celebrities in the match, you had Cyndi Lauper, That was the first thing. You know, we'll talk. I want to talk about celebrities at the end of the thing, end of the show. But she came in. She didn't wrestle, which is a good thing. She was the outside presence of the outside presence that did help. It helped in the end to help Richter win, but it was good to see Cyndi Lauper there. Captain Lou, I love him. He's probably one of my favorite managers of all times. But that great match, high flying. You know, they were all over the place. Great hits, great spots. You know, there was some missed moments, but overall, that match was phenomenal.
It was definitely a match worthy of that second to last spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
And then we go into that second. Then we go into the last spot. You get all the hoopla, all the pomp and circumstance. You get the bagpipes being brought out for Piper. You had him coming out with his big entourage with Ace, Cowboy Bob Orton. You had Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. But even before they came out, you had fucking Liberace. Really? Vince? Muhammad Ali? Really? At least Muhammad Ali was a combat fighter. At least he was in combat sports.
Yeah.
Liberace tickled someone's taint trying to get on that.
I think what Vince was trying to do was as first WrestleMania, he was trying to build the lineup and fill the end of it with all the stars, you know. And of course, if you notice, Liberace's spot was very, very minimal. You know, same as Muhammad Ali, very minimal.
Well, Ali got involved in that match, though.
Yeah, but I think he could have. Yeah, but not as much as I thought he would. You know.
Yeah.
But I just wish they would have flip-flop Snuka with Mr. T when it comes to that part. But
well, okay. So again, I am a WWF history guy. I love and I love backstories, and I love listening to guys talk. I listen to a lot of other podcasts and a lot of other former interviews. And Rowdy Piper, there was legit beef and heat. Like, it wasn't fake between him and T.
Right.
He legitimately hated Mr. T. Mr. T was coming into his world thinking that he could be a professional wrestler. And Rowdy Piper's like, no. I've been doing this since I was knee-high to a goddamn grasshopper, and you're going to come into my house? And that brings me to my absolute hatred. Fight me, I really don't care. I hate celebrities that come into professional wrestling. And that goes starts right with Bad Bunny. I mean, I know a lot of guys out there in the TikTok world and in wrestling community thought you know, he did what he was supposed to do, yes. But you're taking a spot away from someone on the main route, or someone who's there every week.
Yeah. Busting
their ass to get to WrestleMania, and then you take them away and you give it to some dope who, just because he has a song called Booker T.
Right.
I mean, to me, that's garbage. I'm a wrestling fan who wants to see wrestlers at WrestleMania. Right. I don't need to see Mr. T getting in there and showing the world that he's not a professional wrestler. I mean, part of me honestly cheered when Piper slapped the piss out of him at the beginning.
Right, absolutely.
You know, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, get him, Piper.
Yeah.
I'm a Piper guy though, so I don't know. I think, like I said, Mr. T shouldn't have been in that spot. Neither should have. I mean, and I think in WrestleMania 2 he shows up again.
But I guess he's a little bit overweight in WrestleMania too, so we'll see.
Yeah. But anyway, celebrities again. Great to be at the event. Maybe interviewing people, doing that kind of stuff backstage. Maybe hanging out with the guys, seconding a team, coming out with them as their manager or whatever. That's
right.
Fine. But stay out of my ring. Unless you are a professional athlete or a former professional athlete, you can park your behind on the sideline and watch like everyone else.
And I believe, if I remember right, if I think back, WCW, and I don't think AEW does it either, not very many celebrity appearances happen at those shows. If I remember right.
Well, WCW. You want to go into that deep dive?
Sure.
Their big gold was held by David Arquette.
That's true. Yeah.
Jay Leno was in a match.
That's true. Okay. But see, again, I've slept since then, back in the day. But I hate celebrities in the match. I'm even cringing over the fact that I gotta watch Logan Paul and The Miz go at it. I'm not a Logan Paul fan. You got a bunch of people in the back that you could put in the ring with The Miz and make a storyline. Miz doesn't even belong in the fucking wrestling. Sorry, whoops. He came from the real world, or MTV does this, and I mean, I don't know. We could debate this for the next 15 minutes, but I'm going on your coattail, Matt. I'm not a fan of any kind of celebrity being in the ring. Now, I did think, you and I disagreed with this, but I did think Bad Bunny hit spots, and I also think Logan Paul can hit spots. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying, where I'm agreeing with you at, Matt, is the fact that let's look at who's not on the SummerSlam card. Let's look who was not on the WrestleMania 1 card that could have been on the WrestleMania 1 card. The WrestleMania 1 card could have had Snook in there instead of Mr. T, and that match would have been just as good, if not better, than what it was.
Wasn't Snook at that point, was that before or after Piper smacked him upside the head with the coconut?
That was before, I believe.
So why not?
Why not build it?
Yeah, why not build it?
I don't know. It's just.
But you talk. I mean, there is one guy, and I'm glad you didn't talk about him. It's my boy Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee is a different situation. Pat McAfee is a professional athlete. He is an athlete. He was a punter, but he is an athlete. Bad Bunny probably flipped burgers for 7 years before he came up with that stupid little Booker T song he wrote.
Are you gonna excuse Logan Paul because he fought it?
I can't stand Logan Paul
because he fought a fake fight, or
Logan. The one thing Logan did, if you go back, Logan's the only celebrity that showed me that he belonged somewhat in a ring, because he moved different. If you look back at that match with him and The Miz against Ray and Dom, and we'll just say that Dom doesn't belong in the ring either. No. And I'm going to catch a lot of heat from that too.
Agree.
I hate that mullet little bastard. I just don't like him. I don't like Dominic Mysterio.
Right.
I mean, how about this? I mean, you can't do it now, because now you have Dom chasing after Judgment Day, or doing the whole Judgment Day deal. Should have had Logan Paul versus Dominic Mysterio for a contract on a pole match.
Right.
I mean, one of them. I mean, one. We don't need both, because they both suck. I mean, but Logan, like I said, Logan hit that spot off the top rope, which was tremendous.
Right.
At Mania.
Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, of course, defeated Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful. 4 great people in the ring. Well, 3 great people in the ring and 1 celebrity. Hogan hit his spots, hit his leg drops, hulked up, did all his...
Hogan must pose.
Do everything, and I can see where people would have got, like, if I'm in the ring with him, back at WrestleMania 1, he was all about himself too. All this, all that crap. And he wins. He does this: eat your vitamins, say your prayers, train, blah blah blah. Roddy Piper is one of my all-time favorites. He didn't disappoint either. He was spot on. Love his entrance. Love the whole thing. That whole match was supposed to be about. It delivered. I had no problem with that match. I had no problem with the win. I will say this again: long-term storytelling. The way that Ace Cowboy Bob Orton and Roddy Piper left Orndorff in the ring. Orndorff was confused, like, what the hell?
Well, that's again long-term storyline. They started telling that story. They started telling the story of what's going to happen at WrestleMania 2 a year in advance.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to start that. I remember I listened to a lot of Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard.
Okay.
Another one of Vince's guys that's probably going to get shown the door in the next few weeks. But I listened to a lot of his stuff. If you like pro wrestling history, especially WWF history, give his thing a listen. And I mean, he's not nasty about anybody. He just tells it how he remembers it. And he remembers like setting up these long storylines, like 6, 7, 8 months out, that these little details fall in place, and you don't have that now. And again, I've said this last few weeks, I really want to see storytelling in any pro wrestling. You give me a storyline, and I'm not to be confused with the Bloodline who wins every week. Give me a storyline that keeps going and builds and builds and builds. And that's one of the reasons I hate so many pay-per-views.
Yeah.
I mean, WWF had 4 main pay-per-views, and it took until '88 to get SummerSlam.
Yep.
I think can't remember when Survivor Series came.
I think it came after. I think it came a little bit after that. I think.
Well, '84 was Mania 1. '85 was Mania 2. And I want to say the Rumble came in like 86. I think '86 had the Rumble and then Survivor Series, and then '88 came SummerSlam to kind of bring it all the big 4 we know.
Right.
Had started in '88, but
so yeah, that was the card. I don't know if you want to go back and grade it. Great. It was a good WrestleMania. It was a good first big event for WWF and Vince McMahon. I think there was a lot of it was a WWF's beginning. I think they were humble. I think that I wish there wouldn't have been so many no winner, or non-finishers. We didn't. Yeah. I wish there was more of that, less of that. The championship matches were great. The crowd was excited. It was rampant. It was amazing. And it was to bring the celebrities was a first timer for Vince, and the way he chose it, the way he did it, it paid off. It worked. It worked for WrestleMania 1. And the right people won. Great long-term storytelling, like you said. I would say that as a WrestleMania 1, I mean, it was not bad.
I mean, like we had talked before we decided to do this, we're going to see how things evolve.
Yes.
And it's going to give you an appreciation if you go back and watch these like after you're done watching us or listening to us, and you go back and watch it, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's it right there, or oh, look at that spot, yeah, I missed that. That's why I love the Peacock Network. and we're able to look at these old matches and look at it, and I, just gives you appreciation for what we have as far as wrestling right now.
I'd say it's a 7 out of 10, man.
I'm okay with that. Like I'm on board with that. It's definitely a 7.
I'm excited to watch WrestleMania 2 this week, and so on and so forth. I'm gonna shout out a couple people. Spicy Guac, Wrecked by Wrestling, get wrecked. A bunch of guys on TikTok that are supporting my brother and I through this whole journey. It's exciting to see that.
We can't leave those 2 guys. You got Dad Hat. You got
Hambone.
MWO.
MWO.
Opinion. You have hold on, let me pull their names up. I don't want to miss anybody because you guys are all awesome.
Heel Kevin.
Heel Kevin's out there. Live Zone Sports.
Love Panda.
Power Talk Sports. Mr. B Roll. All you guys. I got nothing but love for you guys. I was doing this podcast, the weekly show with Scott, and I had, no confidence, honestly. Like, my opinion, I was like, no one's going to give 2 shits about this, yada, yada, yada. I started doing videos with Andrew or by myself and asking the questions, and the love and support, it means everything. And it actually got me to enjoy wrestling again.
Correct. We got Dad. Did we say Dad Hat?
Dad Hat's on there.
All those guys, all you guys, thank you so much. We're casual wrestling fans. We love the sport of wrestling. We love the entertainment of wrestling. We'll be back Friday. And
1:45. If you guys are around, check us out. That's the week in review. We'll be talking about Monday night. We'll be talking about AW Dynamite. We'll be talking about NXT. We'll give our SummerSlam predictions because SummerSlam's on Saturday.
Perfect.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's the show I'm more comfortable with. Like, I didn't know exactly how to. This is our first time talking about Manias in order, so come back on Friday and see the A show, if you will.
Yep, A show you will. Comments below, guys. Comments in the comment section. We could always use feedback. We love the community. I'm not gonna be butthurt if you guys give feedback. I'd love to have it.
Tell us we suck.
Yeah, I don't care, cause whatever.
I want to give you guys a good show.
Yes.
I want to be. You can ask questions. You can give us suggestions on what pay-per-views we should watch after we're done. I have no problem cranking out more content for you guys. If you guys want to listen to me and my brother talk about what happened in 1984, 85 for an hour and a half. Hey.
So, Matt, got one question before we leave.
Yeah.
You got 1 minute. Edge coming back tonight by himself. Does he help Dominic and Ray? What happens, man?
One or two things are going to happen. We're going to have Edge coming back, not by himself. I shouldn't say I have a gut feeling. I really hope to God they bring back Bray Wyatt, not the Fiend. You bring back Bray, or something along those lines. You need to get him someone to have his back and go in there and beat the tar out of Damian Priest and Finn Balor.
Do you think...
It better not be Gangrel. If it's Gangrel, I will turn off my TV and I'm done.
I don't know. He's going back as Rated R Superstar. Maybe he'll bring Lita back, huh?
But that doesn't fit with his I'm back kind of stuff.
No. So I believe he's coming back. I'd like to see him back with somebody that has his back, you know what I'm saying? I hope to God they get rid of Dominic Mysterio storyline or something. I don't know.
Mullet wearing son of a bitch.
Whatever he is. But so Edge coming back with some backup, huh? You think he's gonna come back? You don't think he'll be alone?
No, it would be dumb. He has to. I mean, to take on two guys, he's not coming alone.
Think that'll be that
MSG. Original. How about that? That's kind of interesting.
I'm gonna tune into that. That's gonna be a hell of a show. Too bad it's 3 hours long, but hey, whatever. That should be.
WrestleMania, 2.5 or 2 hours long. Got the job done.
2 hours long. One night, right? One night we get the job done. Now we got to have 2 days, 5-hour shows. No, we don't need that.
No.
We want. Hey Vince. Hey Triple H. Now that you're head of creation, we need to see quality. Quality. We don't need quantity. We need quality, bro.
Enough with these 15-minute freaking promos that.
Come down to our level, Triple H, Steph. Quality is more important to us.
Bring back Black and Gold NXT, this NXT 2.0.
If we can go 2 hours in 1985, we sure as shit can go 2 hours in 2022 and get the job done, bro. This has been a great Monday. Main event Monday. Look for we got to come up with the title on Friday. Look for TikTok. Listen, check out Huge Pop Wrestling on TikTok. Check out Matt Rogers on TikTok, and wait for the Friday title announcement. We have.
Never mind.
No. Look out for heel.
Are we PG or are we PG or TV 14?
TV 14, bro. Check us out on Saturday, and we'll be a regular schedule on Wednesday. Huge Heat hour. Let's say that 5 times fast. But Monday and Friday, man. Look at us. We're gonna be back, and I give you. There you go. See you guys. Thanks.
See you on Friday.
Thanks for turning in. Boom.